Welcome back. In the previous video, Mrs. Ehrenreich spent some time explaining how to identify serious misconduct or breach of the code of conduct by learners, and then what the governing body should do to set up a disciplinary meeting. In this video, we will unpack the process of conducting a disciplinary hearing and what the governing body should do should a learner be found guilty or not guilty in terms of the process that you have to run. So let's get straight into it. The appointment and composition of a disciplinary committee. The governing body must preside over the disciplinary proceedings or must appoint a disciplinary committee to do so. The disciplinary committee must comprise at least 5 persons, of which 3 must be governing body members. The disciplinary committee must be chaired by a member of the governing body, designated by the governing body, who is not an employee or member of staff of the school. The disciplinary committee must be impartial, fair, and act without favor or prejudice. The principal, learners at the school, or persons having conflict of interest are not eligible to be members of the disciplinary committee and may not be present when the governing body discusses the report or recommendations of the disciplinary committee. So what happens at the disciplinary hearing? At the disciplinary hearing, the learner has the right to be present, to be represented, to give evidence either personally or through a representative, and to also do the following. 1. State his or her case. 2. Call witnesses. 3. Put questions to any person called as a witness in support of a charge. And 4. Inspect documents submitted in evidence. If the learner or his or her parents fail to attend a disciplinary hearing without just cause, and after due notice is contemplated in terms of the regulations, and after such hearing has been convened for the second time, the hearing may be conducted in their absence. The chairperson must, upon the commencement of the disciplinary hearing, explain the reasons for the disciplinary hearing, request the charge or the charges to be read, and ask the learner to plead to the charge. So what happens if the learner pleads guilty? If the learner pleads guilty, the chairperson must ensure that the learner knows and understands what he or she is pleading guilty to, ask the learner, his or her representative, or the parents of the learner, whether anybody wishes to make representations before a suitable sanction is imposed. The DC must also ask the learner, the representative, or the parents of the learner, or any other parties, except members of the disciplinary committee, to leave the room while the committee deliberates on a suitable sanction. The chairperson must ensure that the disciplinary committee decides on an appropriate sanction. Also, the chair has to ensure that the disciplinary committee, after finding the learner guilty of serious misconduct, decide 1. If the learner should be suspended for a period not longer than 7 school days. 2. Any other sanction is contemplated for serious misconduct in the code of conduct of that school, should it be imposed on the learner. Or 3. Should the expulsion of the learner be recommended to the head of department, and thereafter recall the learner, representative, or parents of the learner and inform them of the outcome of the recommendations to be submitted to the governing body for ratification. If the learner, though, pleads not guilty, the chairperson must ensure the following. 1. Request the investigation report to be read and evidence adduced in support of the charge, including the calling of the complainant and witnesses. 2. Give the learner, his or her representative or parents of the learner, the opportunity to put questions to the complainant and witnesses with the purpose of refuting evidence. 3. Afford the committee members an opportunity to ask questions of clarity if applicable. 4. Afford the learner an opportunity to state his or her case and to call witnesses. 5. Allow the committee members to ask questions of clarity. And 6. Excuse the learner, his or her representative, and parents of the learner while the committee reviews evidence and decides on the verdict, and once that has been concluded, recall the learner, representatives, and parents of the learner and inform them of the disciplinary committee's decision. If the DC decides to find the learner guilty, the chairperson must do the following. A. Ask him or her or his or her representative or parents if they wish to make representations before a decision is made on an appropriate sanction. And B. Ask the learner, his or her representative or parents of the learner, and any other parties except members of the disciplinary committee to leave the room while the committee deliberates on a suitable sanction. The disciplinary committee must then decide on an appropriate sanction, taking all the evidence and representations into account, and decide if A. the learner should be suspended for a period not longer than 7 days, B. any other sanction contemplated for serious misconduct in the code of conduct of that school should be imposed on the learner, or C. the expulsion of the learner should be recommended to the head of department or head of education. Once this has been concluded, the DC must recall the learner, his or her representatives or parents of the learner, and inform them of the outcome of the recommendations to be submitted to the governing body. The learner and his or her parents must be informed in writing of the decision of the governing body or whether or not the learner is guilty of serious misconduct and the sanction imposed. This brings us to the end of this video. In our next video, we will focus on the appeal process as well as the child's right to education while the appeal is being managed. As always, we thank you for watching, we thank you for your feedback, and we remind you to press the subscribe button as well as the notification bell so that you get alerts when new videos are loaded onto our YouTube channel. We hope to see you soon. Goodbye.